What's up, everybody? This is MDP here to do another video for you, and this video is going to be called Pro Wrestling's True Mount Rushmore. Now, this is the first pro wrestling video I've ever done, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. But let's get to it. I'm going to talk about the greatest wrestlers in the history of the pro wrestling industry, the four greatest. So, the first person that goes on my Mount Rushmore is Ric Flair, the 16-time or 21-time world champion. Ric Flair is one of the greatest talkers that has ever existed in pro wrestling. Um, but that's not why he's on the list. The reason he's on the list is because he's the greatest overseller of all time in professional wrestling. Ric Flair was the master at overselling. He could get anybody over. Ric Flair could get a cab driver over. Ric Flair has gotten so many people over with his selling. He's just the master. He is the master at overselling. And a lot of the baby faces like Lex Luger, Sting, Barry Windham, Ricky Morton, Dusty Rhodes, Ronnie Garvin, man, these guys all owe Ric Flair's absolute mastery at overselling and getting people over. So that's why Ric Flair takes the number one spot on my Mount Rushmore. Number two is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is the greatest performer in the history of pro wrestling. And when I say perform, I'm talking his in-ring work. Nobody was a greater worker than Shawn Michaels. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I know people like Dynamite Kid, Ricky Steamboat, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Christian, The Rock, Bret Hart. There's so many excellent workers, but Shawn Michaels was the best of them all. And the way we can prove this is if you listen to a lot of the wrestlers from the 80s, 90s, 2000s talk, and when people talk about the best matches they ever had, you hear Shawn Michaels' name come up more than anybody else's. Anybody who's wrestled with Shawn Michaels probably has at least one classic with the Heartbreak Kid. He truly was the greatest of all time. He was an absolute genius at in-ring work. So he takes spot number two. The number three spot goes to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I believe that Stone Cold Steve Austin is the greatest all-around performer in the history of professional wrestling. There's literally nothing that he couldn't do. Amazing worker, amazing talker, amazing charisma. I mean, this guy just had it all. Even in WCW, when they didn't know what to do with him, when I first saw him, I was like, man, this guy is good. I mean, he just was really, really good. He was so good that when Brian Pillman, who was good himself, was next to Steve Austin, you could just see who was the star. It was really easy to see who was the big star of the two. And yeah, Steve Austin, not to mention as a face, he had one of the biggest financial impacts, if not the biggest financial impact in professional wrestling history. Multiple time world champion. Steve Austin just good at everything. Like Shawn Michaels was a great worker, but not a great talker. Ric Flair was a great worker and a great talker, but couldn't really work as a baby face. Stone Cold could do it all. There's nothing he can't do as a professional wrestler. And that's why he gets spot number three. Spot number four goes to the immortal Hulk Hogan. Now let me say this. Some of y'all may be looking at funny like, why is Hulk Hogan on the list? There is nobody that has had the impact in professional wrestling that Hulk Hogan has had. This guy has literally been on top of the sport for decades. No matter what company he works in, he's at the top of the card. He for decades. I believe that Hulk Hogan, whereas he may not be the worker that Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, or Steve Austin is, he is an absolute genius at getting the pulse of the wrestling fans. And he's made his persona work for, like I said, decades. The same persona, heel or face, he makes it work. Hulk Hogan just has something. Like I said, he's a genius in his own way. He take what he has and makes it work and has made it work for a very, very long time. Like I said, in terms of impact on the sport, I don't believe anybody has had a greater impact on the sport than Hulk Hogan. And even at the Republican convention, he was still doing this Hulk Hogan thing and getting a pop. So you can't have a Mount Rushmore and it be authentic without including Hulk Hogan. Now, these aren't my favorite wrestlers. These are the guys I believe just deserve to be on the Mount Rushmore. If we went by my favorite wrestlers, it would probably be Ultimate Warrior, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and Steve Austin, The Rock, Christian, uh, Undertaker. Those are the guys I could think of right offhand. Gangrel was one of my favorites, believe it or not. But anyway, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and end the video on that note. Please like the video. Please comment. Tell me, do you agree with my wrestlers, or who do you think should be on wrestling's Mount Rushmore? Please share the video. Other than that, I love y'all. This is MDP. Peace.